Ironman training in beautiful Dorset. Welcome to the GTN Show.
This is the GTN Show, and this week we are taking it outside simply because it's so glorious here.
Yeah, I mean, you can't blame us. We're into the double figures and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, so for the show this week, we're going to be delving into the age debate within triathlon and looking at how or if age affects our performance.
Well, we've also got some tech news from Zwift, a pro crash, looking at graphene in running shoes, and a huge amount of race news.
Well, firstly, Heather, before we get stuck into the show this week, I saw that you're in Switzerland this week and you ripped it up.
Well, I was racing Xterra. I maybe did okay in the swim and the run, but the bit in the middle wasn't quite ripping up on the mountain bike, but it was an improvement on Malta. So I got around the course and this time I came on top of my age group, which was quite
Very
cool.
good.
And yes, I've got a slot for Maui. We'll see if I make it there, so I could be joining you, Mark. You know.
Brilliant. How was the bike course?
Well, it was in theory a lot easier than Malta, but so there were big stretches through fields and it was just beautiful, and it was so stereotypical Switzerland with lakes. There was even cows with their bells on ringing whilst you're racing, and it was magical. A few times I was like, oh, I'm in a race here. But then there were a couple of sections that there was this bridge that I had to go down, and I screamed both times down it. But I made it, and there were sections I had to push, but I'm moving forwards.
I understand you also got some very valuable help from pro Xterra athletes, Doug Hall and Nicole Walters.
I did, yeah, they were great. They went through the course recce with me the day before, and this bit that I had a refusal at took me back there, and we got through it, and yeah, those guys are massive help, and Nicole will cover it in the results later, but she got a silver there
Brilliant.
As well.
Well, that's what it's all about. But on to the show this week. We have already discussed at length age within triathlon, but I mean, we're still very young, both of us. But at the same time, we're not getting any younger. And we're starting to sort of consider or think about when will our performances start to decline. Now, I've already noticed, and I'm, like I said, still relatively young, I'm only 30 years old, but my recovery, I need a little bit more recovery, and I'm actually starting to get the odd niggle, more so than I ever used to. Are you ever noticing stuff like that?
Well, I think, obviously our lifestyles have changed massively and we're not full-time athletes, but I think in some ways, yes, I need more recovery, but I think I probably needed more recovery when I was younger and didn't accept that. So now I'm understanding more, and I think I'm stronger, maybe mentally and physically, in a different way. Yes, I know, you lose a bit of, in theory, muscle strength, but I think overall I'm more conditioned than I used to be in some ways. And touch wood, maybe it's just because I do less training, I have less injuries and I'm kind of on top of my niggles. So, I don't know. I'm sure black and white, my performance will be decreasing if you looked on paper. Although saying that, I ran a PB in a 10K last week, so.
Oh, well, let's go back to the performance aspect of this. Now, there is a common belief that somewhere around the mid-20s and mid-30s is sort of the optimum age for triathlon, obviously depending on distance. But there's also this trend between age and decline in performance, and that's probably just something that you've taken as fact, probably heard rather than read up on yourself, and I certainly fall into that boat. But I've been really interested in this, not that I'm worried that I'm getting too old, but it's something I've wanted to delve into and have a look at a bit more.
Yeah, well, there has actually been some research by the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, and they have looked at the correlation between performance and age and where that drops off, and they've worked out that actually it's swimming that drops off of the three sports. It was in Ironman athletes, so of the three sports it's swimming that actually starts to drop off first, which I actually concur with, probably because I just spend no time in the pool anymore. But still, that goes first, and then it's the cycling and running that come after. But interestingly, when they looked at just the pros, they actually saw an improvement in performance. Obviously, Ironman athletes are older, and I think any athlete wants to retire at their best, and not always, but I guess on the whole, most athletes retire at their top as a pro.
I think.
So it showed that athletes continued to improve as they got older, but that only went to about 40, whereas age groupers, obviously, it's very different.
Yeah, so that found this drop-off in the swimming performance for both men and women around the 25 to 29 age group. But then, interestingly, the cycling, running, and overall time was slightly different. So for the women, it was around 30 to 34 when they start to see a drop off in that, and slightly later for the male, around 35 to 39.
I mean, no wonder you found these results. I mean, you've got like another 10 years and I'm past it. Great.
No.
Well, I don't know if obviously I can't disagree with those numbers, but I mean, this isn't purely from a personal point of view, but I think we do see so many athletes, yes, I guess pros, but even maybe more so with age groupers, as they learn how to race longer distance, you understand about how to pace, how your body works, and you do get stronger in a different kind of way. So, interesting. I don't know it's entirely true for everybody. So don't get depressed if you are past those ages.
Absolutely, and then there's maybe the whole experience and like sort of that know-how of triathlon with age. So I fully agree with you, and you'll actually be pleased to hear that I found another study that sort of proves that actually there is perhaps a slight beneficial aspect of this increase in age in triathlon. Now this study actually was more focused on HIIT training, so not totally specific to triathlon, although a lot of triathletes do use HIIT training in their training. And again, this was also looking more at the recovery aspect rather than sort of the difference in performance between the age groups.
Well, it might be slightly stereotypical, but when you're younger, especially if you're like coaching younger athletes, you see them just wanting to go all out. Well, this experiment actually gave all of their subjects a set program, but they were allowed to choose the amount of rest they had within the session. And the poll found, or the investigation found, that the younger athletes were like, yeah, we've recovered, let's go again. But actually their performance dropped off, whereas the older, more mature athletes, I think, knew how much recovery they needed to be able to replicate that same effort. And I think, a lot of that is about learning and understanding yourself and knowing when you've recovered enough and being able to pace at the end of the day.
Phew. I think we're all right then.
Maybe there's something there we can hang on to.
Yeah, we may be clutching at straws a little bit there. But interesting topic anyway, and we'd like to throw it to you guys. So I'm going to do a poll here. Do you think you're improving with age? Yes or no? And you can enter that by clicking just up here. And now for last week's poll. So let's pull us in. Wow, we asked, do you drink before a race? Alcoholic beverage we're talking.
Well, this was an interesting, I obviously wasn't here last week, so I missed this debate. And ironically, I was away having a day of at the races, and I raced the next day, and I raced well. So
we know where you lie.
Yes. But let's go to the results from you guys.
Okay, so in last place, it was yes, with 25%. Interesting. And then first place, no, with 75%. So pretty conclusive there. I
guess we didn't clarify exactly when. I didn't drink the day of my race, so maybe...
Yeah, maybe wouldn't suggest putting alcohol in your bottle.
Yeah. Although I think there was a couple of comments actually below the show last week that were talking about how back in the 40s and the 50s and the Tour de France, for example, you actually had the guys, fueling on beer.
They were having all sorts, and now probably shouldn't go into that.
Let's not go there.
Now for the GTN Payne Cave, and starting things this week, we've got one on Instagram from Will6184. Pretty cool, this one.
Yeah, I like the colourway of this giant. Is it Giant Trinity?
It is, and it almost matches his wall, Heather.
Yeah. Do you know what though? He's missing his pedals, so I wonder if he's actually been using it or just put it there for the photo.
That's a very good spot. I hadn't noticed that. But yeah, he's using an on-wheel turbo trainer, hence his.
Yeah, it's changed the wheel over, which we've had actually quite a few people comment on before.
Yeah, and he's got a dual GTN setup.
Yeah, good work.
Why not?
The thing that concerns me most is if he is getting sweaty when he has his pedals on, is how close he is to what looks like his bed.
Well, moving on, we've got another one on Instagram from Chad Mooney85. This is quite cool. I know it's in their sort of dining room kitchen area, but very open, airy.
A nice lot of light, which is always nice if you're training indoors. It makes you feel like slightly more real, doesn't it?
Yeah, can't quite work out the bike brand on there, but it sort of looks like a nice stealthy black.
And he's got his shoes on ready, so for a quick transition there.
Maybe he's practicing his T1. Another winner on Instagram from SJP, and this is a nice little Boardman on a direct drive turbo trainer.
And look at that, he's got his iPad actually set up mounted to his handlebars, I think.
Yeah, well actually, let's just take a look at the sort of setup these in. It's just like a purpose-built shed or training centre. Very cool.
It is.
Almost looks like he might have a sauna in the corner or something. But yeah, it's quite a cool setup as well for the TV and
very purpose built.
Very nice indeed. As always, send in your GTN Payne Caves using the hashtag GTN Payne Cave over Instagram, Twitter, and even send them in over Facebook. Now for hot or not, and to start things off this week, we've got one from PowerPod. Now if you haven't heard of the brand PowerPod, they are a power meter company, but with a difference, because rather than using strain gauges to work out the power, they actually do it through wind measurement and using accelerometers to calculate the power. Now they've just added a new product to their line, and it is the PowerPod Lite. So it comes in at just $199. It's essentially a stripped down version of some of the other products that come in at $299 plus. It still features sort of some of the most basic features, but they've obviously taken away some of the more high-end features, including the likes of being able to switch from bike to bike. So you just set it up on one bike, you calibrate it to that bike, and away you go, which is great. What do you think, Heather?
Well, I mean, obviously, most people probably are only going to have a power meter on one bike anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. And I know it's debatable about using a different method, but I mean, if it's bringing the price down, it's going to add competition to the power meter market and making power more accessible to people to ride on. So it's a big hot. Right, next up, we've got some news from Zwift, and they have recently acquired the running foot pod brand Milestone. Now, this is quite exciting. Milestone are known for making fairly affordable foot pods, and obviously with Zwift now venturing into the running world, they need people to be able to measure their pace that they're running on to be able to upload it. So it's making this whole indoor training platform more accessible, and yeah, it's quite exciting. But what do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I'm really interested by it. I've still not actually tried out the indoor running with Zwift. I'm really intrigued by it. I've been out on the bike on Zwift and I've seen people bombing it past. So yeah, I think this is cool. I'm gonna give this a hot. Well, this next one is actually a story that came to light literally as our show went out last week, and it was actually a crash from the previous Ironman world champion, Jan Frodeno. He was out training and he was literally getting to his door at home and he crashed on a descent. He just cut his cheek open, he's given himself a black eye. Fortunately, nothing too serious, but he has obviously had to take a little bit of time out of training. Apparently, he is still very much set on the Ironman European Championships at Frankfurt, which are taking place the weekend after next. So hopefully it hasn't ruined his prep for that too much. I think it's pretty clear where we're going with this one.
Yeah, I think it's a not.
Not.
Right, now for a little bit of science, and we're looking at graphene, which is the lightest, strongest material on the planet. It's 200 times stronger than steel, and we've seen it obviously develop technology and science a lot, and it's been used in bicycles. Well, now we're seeing it in running shoes, and it's Innovate who back in December announced they were going to have these new shoes that were coming out that were going to use graphene in the sole. Well, apparently it's going to be combined with the outer sole for the bottom, and then obviously it's making the shoe much more durable. But to make sure that it isn't just the bottom of your shoe that lasts, they're actually using Kevlar in the uppers as well.
Bulletproof.
Yeah, so this is the G series. They've got 3 shoes within it, and well, I think it'd be interesting to go and have a look at those, but they're going to last a long time, I think.
Yeah, very exciting tech. What are we going with this one, Heather?
That's got to be a hot.
Right, last bit of hot or not this week, and if you are watching this just after it's been published and you're ready to jump on your bike, then you're in luck. I suggest jumping on Zwift because you could join in with Bex Roomington. Now, Bex Roomington is one of 4 amateur triathletes that's just been selected onto the specialised Zwift Tri Academy team. Now, she has actually come from a UCI women's pro cycling team. So quite an exciting one this week,
I think that's going to be pretty tough. If you have got the chance to join it, go do it, because I think you're going to get a decent workout.
Yeah, I mean, Zwift have done a number of these sessions. You've been able to join in with Tim Don, Lucy Charles, Lucy Gossage, all sorts. So yeah, these have been really successful. If you want to join in with that, it's on at 7 p.m. UK time tonight. And we're going to give this a hot. Now for the race news, and this weekend we had the 6th edition of the Swissman Extreme Triathlon. It saw 239 athletes from 41 nations competing across a 226-kilometre course with 5,500 vertical metres. Yeah, it had an icy start to the day, but apparently the rest of the race was near idyllic conditions. In the men's race, it saw Mikael Raker take the win in a time of 11 hours and 23 minutes.
Well, on the women's side, it was Flora College of the UK who actually won. She had a margin of 1 hour and 8 minutes for the victory. And out of those 239 starters, 213 managed to complete it before the cut-off.
Now we're heading to the Philadelphia Escape Triathlon, and in the men's race we had some hot competition because we had the Escape from Alcatraz winner Ben Canute, and we had the previous 4-time winner of the Philadelphia Escape Triathlon, Cam Dye. And it's Cam Dye that came out on top, making it his 5th win, and on his 34th birthday. Ben Canute took 2nd, Jason West took 3rd.
Well, as we're staying with dropping in the ages there, it's actually a 37-year-old who won the women's. Sarah Haskins, she actually missed last year to give birth, but had won it previously. So she had to beat last year's winner, Alicia Kay. She managed to, she topped the podium. Alicia Kay was second, and then it was Sophie Chase in third.
Now to Ironman France in Nice, and it's the previous 4-time winner in the men's race, Frederik van Leerd, that was setting the pace early on in the bike, and for a good reason, because he was trying to hold off the Ironman World Championship bike course record holder, Cameron Worth. Unfortunately, Cameron did take the lead eventually. He came with the bike with a 5-minute lead, but that just wasn't enough. Frederik van Leerd ran through to take the win, and then Anthony Costas also managed to run himself through to second, but Cameron managed to hang on for third.
Well, on the women's side, it was the eventual winner, Corinne Abraham, who had a huge amount of work to do after the swim. So much so that by halfway through the bike, she was still 5 minutes back on the podium, I think. But she made the move just towards the end of the bike and actually had the lead heading out onto the run. It was Melissa Hauschild who'd been looking strong, but dwindled towards the second half of the bike. And Manon Genet had been leading for a lot of it, and a lot of home hopes, you know, of the French athlete competing in front of the home crowd in France. But she dropped off, and it ended up being a strong performance for Corinne Abraham to take the win. Carrie Lester ran up with a really strong run performance to come second, and Manon Genet finished third.
Now for Ironman 70.3 Mont Tremblant, and it was Lionel Sanders that really surprised us with his super swim. He came out of the swim with a 1 minute 30 deficit. It took him until 50k on the bike to get himself to the pointy end of the race and then break away from that group, coming into T2 with a 2-minute advantage. He went on to take the win. It was Rudy von Berg that took second, and in third it was Brent McMahon. But I'm going to make a special mention to 5th place finisher. That was Matt Russell, who had a tragic crash at the Ironman World Championships last year.
Yeah, well, on the women's side, it was pretty much a battle for most of it, especially all of the bike, between Rachel McBride and Meredith Kessler. And then onto the run, they looked pretty much neck and neck for a while, but then Meredith Kessler managed to open up the gap. She took the win by almost 3 minutes, her second win for the month of June, so looking pretty impressive considering she's only just back racing after giving birth. And Rachel McBride finished second, and then it was Jodie Robertson in third.
Now for Ironman 70.3 Coeur d'Alene, and it was Andrew Starkowitz that led the men out of the water, with Matt Hansen hot on his heels. But as we expect, Andrew Starkowitz managed to break away on the bike, coming into T2 with a 4.5 minute advantage. But Matt Hansen put in a blistering run split, a 1:11 half marathon to pass Andrew Starkowitz and take the win. It was actually Kenneth Patterson that took second, and then Andrew Starkowitz hung on for third.
Well, on the women's side, it was a much bigger gap to start with. Hayley Chura came out of the water, I think 4 minutes ahead of the nearest women. And then it was basically a matter of hanging on. That deficit did drop a little bit, but she ended up taking the overall win by 2 minutes, ahead of Sarah Piampiano in second. And then one of the pre-race favourites, Lindsay Corbin, finished third.
Now for Ironman 70.3 Costa Rica, and this was an exciting race because all eyes were on Tim Don after his horrific accident ahead of the Ironman World Championships in Kona and having to recover using that halo system around his head. We've covered that a lot on the channel before, so excited to see how he got on here. And he actually came out of the swim with the leaders, stayed with them throughout most of the bike until the last portion of the bike, where he pushed ahead and came into T2 with a minute lead. He managed to maintain that on the run to take the win, which is absolutely unbelievable.
That's great news.
Ryan Fisher took second, and then Santiago Ascenso took third.
Well, on the women's side, it was the strong swimmer Lauren Goss who led from the start. She had a minute's lead after the swim and then basically continued to extend that gap. She took the win by almost 10 minutes, ahead of Nicole Valentine in second, and then third place, it was Sarah Cometo. Well, the final results that we've got this week are from Xterra Switzerland, and obviously I was out there. Admittedly, I didn't get to witness it firsthand because I was kind of behind the pros, but still, it was a very exciting race. And on the women's side, it was won by Brigitte Poor, again on top of the podium. And then Nicole Walters, we already mentioned earlier, finished second, and then third, it was Karina Vassler.
Well, in the men's race, it was Arthur Forestier that took the win. Roger Serrano took second, and in third, it was Marcelo Ucasio.
Well, you might be wondering why we just skipped over those results rather quickly. Well, actually, as I was there, I took the opportunity to go and speak to the winners firsthand, and we've got a little race report from them just here. Okay, Arthur, congratulations on winning. I gather this is your third win here in a row.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
How are you feeling?
Oh, amazing feeling. Yeah, I was in a good shape, I think, and had a good swim. I was with my teammate on the bike, so it's very good for mental, and I have good legs in run. So yeah.
And where were you leading from the start? When did you make the break to the front?
I catch Roger Sarno. He was first out of the water and first after the bike after around 3K's run. So in the first uphill, and I pass him and I never see him again.
It was a perfect race for me. I am very satisfied. I don't know, I'm maybe 5th or 6th time here and never went well this race. I don't know why. But now changed my luck, so I am very happy with this result.
How did you change it? What did you do differently?
I don't know. Maybe just it was a good day for me.
And when did you hit the front of the field?
End of the bike.
And how was the bike for you?
Yeah, it was a little bit weak for me, but maybe it was the good option, because then the run was very good. So I find the balance.
Well, I don't know about you, Heather, but I am roasting right now.
Well, no, I didn't realise that you didn't like the heat. I mean, I know you're British, Mark, but come on.
I don't mind cycling in it, but sitting here, it's typical British, yeah. Too hot, too cold, too... we just got to get out of it. I'm roasting. So we'll see you back in the set.
Whew. You're right, you survived.
I'm pleased to be inside. I was roasting her.
Yeah, sorry about that, but we are ready to crack on with the rest of the show. And we are now ready for...
the Caption Competition. And last week's Caption Comp photo was of Josh Amberger sort of enjoying himself at the end of the race on his own with a, well, I thought it was a bottle of champagne, but Heather corrects me, it wasn't champagne, it was...
Well, I didn't look that closely, I don't know, you chose the caption, so maybe I'm wrong on that one, but...
Apparently it's Prosecco anyway. So we had some great captions coming in. Ich bin dumm said, when you're so fast, you don't have anyone to celebrate with.
Well, another runner-up was from Alex Fuller, best aid station ever.
And the winner this week is Tenny Young said, sharing is caring, except when it comes to champagne.
Now, Tenny, I like your style. I'm definitely on the same page.
Yeah. You are the GTN Caption Competition winner. So get in touch to claim your swim cap. And now for this week's caption photo. And it is from the ITU World Cup in Antwerp from the other week. And it is of Tyler Michalczuk, sort of doing a little goggle impression. I don't know what.
Yeah, I think it's an owl impression, isn't it? Like when you've got the little owl ears.
Who knows? I don't know. You guys help us out and leave your captions in the comment section below.
Okay, it's time for GTN Tribe, and this week we are heading to Central California. If only we were. But the club is Ciclista de la Val Club, and they are based in Central California. And apparently they started from a cycling club, hence the name.
Yep, and they were finally granted a chance to set up their triathlon team. And in the first year, they had just 12 members, and now they've got 42 members. And they say that they enjoy post-race dinners, movie nights, holiday parties, and pool date nights.
I'd love to know what a pool date night involves.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Fortunately, we haven't got any photos from
But
that.
the opening line of actually what they sent in here is, a team that plays together, stays together.
Anyways, moving on from that, they do say that they've got everything from first-time triers all the way up to qualifiers for the Ironman 70.3 World Champs in South Africa this year. So really cool. Let's have a little scoot through some of the photos here. Really cool kit. Really nice kit, actually. That's pretty bold, isn't it?
It is bold. You're not going to miss them in a club race.
Them doing a swim session.
Outdoor pool, jealous.
And their movie nights. Wicked. Well, do please keep sending in your GTN tribes. We love seeing them. Just tell us what your club's up to, any events they've got, send us photos, videos, all sorts, as much as possible. And you can send that in over Facebook or even send it via email using the email address gtn at globaltrinetwork.com.
Well, that's it for this week's GTN show. And Mark, it's actually been nice to be back together for a moment, but I know
awesome.
that you're not staying for very long.
I'm sorry, Heather. I am off to Challenge Roth this weekend, so keep tuned for loads of great content coming from there. It's going to be quite an exciting race.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it all. Well, if you haven't yet done so, hit the globe to subscribe. And if you've got tight hips, you spend a lot of time sitting down or cycling, then we made a video on great mobility workout just here.
And if you're unsure on your tyre pressure for a triathlon, I've also just done a recent video on tyre pressure for a triathlon. You can see that by clicking just down here.